Good afternoon students. Today we are going to discuss about tumors of salivary gland, and today's topic has been divided into two parts. Part 1 will deal with general features and benign tumors of salivary gland, whereas part 2 will deal with malignant tumors of salivary gland. Now coming on to topic, first we will see what is neoplasm or neoplasia. A neoplasm is an abnormal mass of tissue, the growth of which exceeds and is uncoordinated with that of normal tissue and persists in the same excessive manner after cessation of the stimuli which evoked the change. And next is we will see how the neoplasia has been typed or classified. The neoplasm has been classified based upon the origin of organ, behavior and cell of origin. Based upon origin of organ, it has been classified into primary and secondary tumors, and secondary tumors are otherwise called as metastatic tumors. And based upon behavior, they have been classified into benign, borderline and malignant tumors. And based upon cell of origin, they have been classified into epithelial tumors, mesenchymal tumors, germ cell tumors and tumors that are arising from blood cells, otherwise called as hematological tumors. And now we will see what is a salivary gland. Salivary glands are those structures which will secrete saliva, which helps in breaking down the carbohydrates and also in lubrication. And in our body, the salivary glands are composed of three paired major glands. They are all parotid, submandibular and sublingual glands. Other than this, there are all around 1000 minor salivary glands that are all distributed throughout the sinonasal tract, oral cavity, pharynx, larynx and lower respiratory tract. And all these salivary glands in general develop from ingrowth of surface epithelium. Parotid glands are almost entirely serous. The sublingual glands are predominantly mucous, and submandibular gland contain both serous and mucous cells. And this is the histological picture of salivary gland, and this is a picture of mixed salivary gland. In general, the salivary gland will have a capsule, and this capsule will divide the salivary parenchyma into many lobes. The lobes are again divided into lobules, and lobules have primarily two components. One is acinar component and another one is ductal components. And acinar component will have serous cell, mucous cell, and these serous cells and mucous cells will form the luminal layer, whereas abdominal layer is formed by myoepithelial cell. And coming on to ductal component, there are all intercalated ducts and striated ducts, and these ductal structures are lined by single layer of cuboidal epithelial cells with abundant eosinophilic cytoplasm. Now coming on to tumors of salivary gland. Salivary gland neoplasm represents less than 2% of all tumors in humans, and about 65 to 80% of tumors arise within parotid gland. So parotid gland is the most common type of salivary gland affected by neoplasm, and approximately 15 to 30% of tumors in parotid gland, 40% of submandibular tumors, 50% of tumors arising from minor salivary gland, and around 90% of sublingual tumors are cancerous, that is malignant. And these salivary gland tumors usually occur in adults with slight female predominance, and about 5% of tumors occurs in children younger than 16 years. And a kind of benign tumor which is called as Wadin tumors occurs much more often in males when compared to other salivary gland neoplasms. And likelihood of salivary gland tumor being malignant is more or less inversely proportional to size of the gland. Next, moving on to classification of salivary gland neoplasm. The salivary gland tumors, according to WHO classification 2017, has been classified into benign tumors, intermediate tumors and malignant tumors. Other than this, we have other epithelial lesions, soft tissue lesions and hematolymphoid tumors. Under benign tumors, we have pleomorphic adenoma, myoepithelioma, basal cell adenoma, Wadin's tumor, oncocytoma, lymphadenoma, cystadenoma, sialadenoма papilliferum, ductal papillomas, sebaceous adenoma, canalicular adenoma and other ductal adenomas. Among this, we are going to discuss only three benign tumors, that is pleomorphic adenoma, basal cell adenoma and Warthin's tumor. And coming on to malignant tumors, there are plenty of malignant tumors. They are all actinic cell carcinoma, secretory carcinoma, mucoepidermoid carcinoma, adenoid cystic carcinoma, polymorphous adenocarcinoma, epithelial myoepithelial carcinoma, clear cell carcinoma, basal cell adenocarcinoma, sebaceous adenocarcinoma, intraductal carcinoma, cyst adenocarcinoma, adenocarcinoma not otherwise specified, salivary duct carcinoma, myoepithelial carcinoma, carcinoma X pleomorphic adenoma, carcinosarcoma, and poorly differentiated carcinomas. In borderline or intermediate tumors, we have cyeloblastoma. Among all these malignant tumors, we are going to discuss about mucoepidermoid carcinoma, adenoid cystic carcinoma, actinic cell carcinoma, and carcinoma X pleomorphic adenoma and salivary duct carcinoma. Now moving on to first benign neoplasm of salivary gland and most common neoplasm of salivary gland is pleomorphic adenoma. Pleomorphic adenoma is also called as benign mixed tumor or mixed tumor, and it is the most common neoplasm within the salivary gland, accounting for 54 to 76% of all neoplasia. And majority of pleomorphic adenomas are diagnosed in parotid gland followed by minor salivary gland and submandibular gland. So pleomorphic adenoma is the most common type of neoplasia occurring in salivary glands. And by definition, pleomorphic adenoma is defined as a benign neoplasm composed of ductal epithelial cells and myoepithelial cells set within a mesenchymal stroma. And it is the most common salivary gland neoplasm, and it comprises approximately 60% of parotid, submandibular and minor salivary gland tumors. And as already discussed, there is a female predominance, but still in children and adolescents, male predominance is seen, and peak incidence of this tumor is seen in 4th to 5th decade. And clinically, they are slow growing mass and they are asymptomatic, but when neglected, they may become very large. And 20 to 45% of pleomorphic adenoma goes for recurrence, and multinodular recurrences with potential for malignant transformation is seen up to 7% of the patients. So, pleomorphic adenoma with multinodular recurrences has a potential for malignant transformation, and superficial or total parodontectomy and wide local excision and tumor along with gland excision or treatment of choice for pleomorphic adenoma. And grossly, these tumors are well circumscribed, round to oval with variable encapsulation, and they are tan white with shiny or translucent cut surface. Microscopically, epithelial glandular ductal structures admixed with myoepithelial cells in spindle, plasmacytoid, epithelioid, stellate or basaloid morphology is seen. Along with that, we can see a mesenchymal stroma either in the form of myxoid, mucochondroid, hyalinized, osseous or fatty. And immunohistochemical features are epithelial cells are positive for cytokeratin cocktail and myoepithelial cells are positive for S100 protein, SMA, that is smooth muscle actin, P63, calponin, MSA, which means muscle specific antigen, and GFAP, glial fibrillary acidic protein, and CD10. So these are all positive for myoepithelial cells. And this is the gross and microscopic appearance of pleomorphic adenoma. As shown in A, pleomorphic adenoma is usually an encapsulated tumor, and as in B, the cut surface is well circumscribed and tan to grey white with shiny surface, and C shows a ductal component lined by bilayered epithelium against chondromyxoid stroma, and in D, cartilaginous component is well seen. So these are all the gross picture and microscopic features of pleomorphic adenoma. Next, moving on to papillary cystadenoma lymphomatosum, which is otherwise called as Warthin's tumor. By definition, this is a biphasic tumor composed of bilayered oncocytic cells forming cysts and papillary fronds set within a dense lymph node like stroma, and it is the second most common salivary gland tumor, and it occurs mostly in parotid, and it has a male predominance, and whites are more commonly affected when compared to blacks, and incidence wise it occurs in 6th to 7th decade. And clinically it is a asymptomatic slow growing mass, and it is bilateral, and recurrence can occur up to 4 to 25%. Lumpectomy and parotidectomy, if the tumor occurs in parotid, is a treatment of choice. And grossly it is a circumscribed, firm to cystic, brown, yellow or red colored mass, and under microscope you will see a double layer of oncocytic epithelium with cuboidal basal cell and overlying columnar luminal cell, and numerous cysts with papillary enfoldings is also seen, and dense lymph node like stroma with possible reactive germinal centers are made out. And immunohistochemically, epithelial component are positive for cytokeratin, and lymphoid components are reactive for B cell and T cell markers. And this is a picture showing gross and microscopic feature. On the left, which is labeled as A, is a gross picture of Wadin's tumor, which shows a multiple cystic cavities filled with some hemorrhagic material. Sometimes if you see the inner cystoid lining, there will be papillary fronds or papillary excretions. And B shows histopathological feature in which there are all papillary fronds lined by bilayered epithelium, and under papillary fronds we have a lymphoid or lymphocyte rich stroma, and sometimes germinal center formation is also made out. Next, coming on to basal cell adenoma. Basal cell adenomas are benign epithelial salivary gland neoplasms composed of small basaloid cells arranged in solid, trabecular, tubular or membranous growth pattern, and it represents 2% of salivary gland neoplasm, and around 75% it occurs within the parotid gland, remainder in submandibular and minor salivary glands. And again it has a female predominance in case if it is presenting a solid or tubulotrabecular pattern, and it will have a male predominance in case of membranous variant, and peak incidence of this tumor will occur in 6th decade. And coming on to clinical feature, it is again a asymptomatic and slow growing mass, and membranous variant is associated with multifocality and skin adnexal tumors, and 25% recurrence rate is seen in this tumor, and a small chance of malignant transformation for membranous type is seen. And surgical excision is the treatment of choice. Grossly it is a well circumscribed encapsulated pink brown mass, and microscopically you will see a basaloid cells arranged in solid, trabecular, tubular and membranous pattern, and small basaloid cells with increased nucleus cytoplasmic ratio with peripheral palisading around sheets and islands are seen. Foci of squamous metaplasia with keratinization can also be made out in some cases. Immunohistochemically, the inner luminal cells will be positive for cytokeratin cocktail, cytokeratin 7 and CD117, which is otherwise called as c-KIT. And peripheral basaloid cells are positive for S100 protein, P63, smooth muscle actin and muscle specific actin. So this is a picture showing both gross appearance and microscopic appearance. On the left, which is labeled as A, shows a gross picture. Grossly it is a well circumscribed tan white to white colored mass, and B shows histopathology in which the nest of cells which are composed of basaloid cells with peripheral palisading is seen. The lumen of few glandular structures shows secretion, and most importantly the stroma which is in between the cellular nest shows thick hyalinized material which is similar to basement membrane, So these are all the key features of gross appearance and histopathology of basal cell adenoma. And with this, we come to the end of part 1, that is general features and benign tumors of salivary gland. Thank you. Next, we are moving on to part 2 of this session, that is malignant tumors of salivary gland. The first tumor that we are going to discuss is mucoepidermoid carcinoma. So, mucoepidermoid carcinoma is a malignant glandular epithelial neoplasm which is characterized by the presence of mucous cells, intermediate cells and epidermoid cells, and it is the most common malignant salivary gland neoplasm, and it accounts for 12 to 29%, and nearly 60% of this type of tumor occur in major salivary gland, especially it occurs in parotid gland. And about 40% of mucoepidermal carcinoma recurs locally and spread to regional lymph nodes, and distant site occurs in 50% of the cases. And 5-year survival rate is around 80%. And female predominance is seen in the ratio of 3:2, and it is the most common salivary gland malignancy in children also. Usually, it is a painless, fixed, slowly growing mass, and symptoms include pain and evidence of nerve involvement, especially facial nerve involvement in the form of facial palsy is seen. And prognosis depends upon clinical stage, site, grading and adequacy of surgical excision. Most tumors are low grade with excellent prognosis, but if the tumor is found in submandibular salivary gland, it will have a poor prognosis. And grossly, they may be circumscribed and variably encapsulated or infiltrative. Cysts are often present and contain brownish viscid material, and sometimes mucinous material is also seen. And microscopically, it consists of mucous cell, intermediate cells and epidermoid cells. Sometimes admixed with this, we have a clear cell, columnar cells, oncocyte and the cells which are undescript. And immunohistochemically, intermediate and epidermal cells are immunoreactive for cytokeratin and frequently EMA, which is nothing but epithelial membrane antigen. And this table is used for grading mucoepidermal carcinoma, which is designed by Armed Force Institute of Pathology. So here few parameters including intracystic components, neural invasion, necrosis, mitotic figure and anaplasia are taken into account, and they are given individual scoring, and based upon the presence of these parameters the total scoring is done. And when the score is between 0 to 4, the tumor is considered low grade. When it is between 5 to 6, it is intermediate grade, and when it is 7 and more than 7, we are considering this tumors as high grade neoplasms. So this grading system is given by AFIP, that is Armed Forces Institute of Pathology. Now this is a picture which shows gross and microscopy of mucoepidermal carcinoma. On the left is the gross picture of mucoepidermal carcinoma, which is presenting as a unilocular cyst filled with some viscous or mucoid material. On the right, the microscopy shows admixture of epidermoid cells and mucous secreting cells. Sometimes admixed with this, we will have a clear cell or cuboidal cells or columnar cells, or sometimes cells which are undescript. And next malignant tumor we are going to consider is adenoid cystic carcinoma. Adenoid cystic carcinoma is a basaloid tumor consisting of epithelial and myoepithelial cells in cribriform, tubular and in solid patterns. It accounts for 10% of salivary gland neoplasm, and about 70% of this arise in minor glands, particularly in palate. And 5-year and 10-year survival rate is 62% and 40% respectively, and most patients die of or with tumor. And there is a female preponderance in the ratio of 3:2, and peak incidence occurs in 5th to 7th decade, and it is the rarest tumor in children. Clinically, it is a slow growing mass with facial nerve palsy. And prognosis depends upon site, tumor size, clinical stage and histologic pattern. And if the tumor occurs in submandibular salivary gland, they have a worse prognosis, and if metastasis occurs, it can occur to lung, bone, brain, liver, and it is seen in up to 60% of the cases. And grossly, it is firm, often well circumscribed but unencapsulated. And under microscopy, you will see the tumor is composed of ducts, lining cells and abluminal modified myoepithelial cells, and these tumor occur in cribriform, tubular, solid and mixed patterns, and structures which are all called as pseudocyst filled with basophilic material or mucoid material or hyalinous material is seen. And perineural invasion is common and extensive. And coming on to cell feature of this tumor, mostly the cells are basaloid, which will have an increased nucleus cytoplasmic ratio, and the nucleus will be hyperchromatic and they are carrot shaped or peg shaped. And ancillary studies, pseudocyst and its material are positive for PAS, periodic acid shift, Alcian blue, laminin and type 4 collagen, and epithelial cells are positive for low molecular weight cytokeratin, EMA, that is epithelial membrane antigen, and CD117, otherwise called as c-KIT. And myoepithelial cells are positive for calponin, smooth muscle actin, S-centered protein and P63. And this is the microscopic picture of adenoid cystic carcinoma. This is a classical adenoid cystic pattern or cribriform pattern, and you can see some glandular spaces filled with some bluish colored material around which basaloid cells are arranged haphazardly, and the cells have increased nucleus cytoplasmic ratio and the nucleus are carrot shaped or peg shaped. Next, moving on to actinic cell carcinoma. Actinic cell carcinoma is a malignant epithelial neoplasm demonstrating serous acinar cell differentiation with cytoplasmic zymogen secretory granules, and it affects around 6% of salivary glands, and 80% they involve the parotid gland, and minor salivary glands are the second most common site for this actinic cell carcinoma. 5-year and 10-year survival rate is 82% and 68% respectively, and these tumors have female predominance in the ratio of 3:2, and the tumor is most commonly seen in 2nd to 7th decade, and it is the second most common malignant salivary gland tumor in children. Clinically, it is a slow growing tumor with facial nerve involvement seen in 5 to 10% of the cases, and about 35% of this tumor develop recurrence, and poor prognosis of this tumor is associated with large size, involvement of deep lobe of parotid, multinodularity, metastasis, necrosis and neural invasion. Grossly, it is rubbery or firm tumor, usually less than 3 cm, and usually it is circumscribed, occasionally irregular, and microscopically characteristic cell is serous acinar type of cell with granules in the cytoplasm. Other cell types include intercalated cells, ductal cells, vacuolated cells and presence of clear cells occasionally. And ancillary testing, PAS positive diastase resistant zymogen granules are seen in the cytoplasm of the tumor cells, and actinic cells may stain positive for amylase, transferrin, lactoferrin, carcinoembryonic antigen, VIP and others. About 10% may show positivity for S-centered protein. This is the microscopic picture of actinic cell carcinoma, where the tumor cells are arranged in sheets. The cells are polygonal with central to peripherally placed nucleus. The most important feature is the cytoplasm showing abundant zymogen granules. Next, moving on to salivary duct carcinoma. Salivary duct carcinoma are the high grade carcinomas which resembles high grade breast ductal adenocarcinoma, and it mostly affects parotid gland, and this represents 9% of malignant salivary gland tumors and common type of malignancy arising from X pleomorphic adenoma. And about a third of cases recur locally, and 65% of patients die from this disease, and they have a strong male predominance, and peak incidence is seen in 6th to 7th decade. Clinically, it presents as rapidly growing mass, ulceration, and facial nerve palsy is most commonly seen. And most aggressive salivary gland tumor with regional metastasis in 60% of cases and with distant spread in 50% of the cases. And features associated with the poor outcome include large tumor size, distant metastasis, and overexpression of Herceptin receptor, otherwise called as HER2/neu. Grossly, it is predominantly solid, white, grey or tan with frequent areas of necrosis and hemorrhage. And macroscopic features typical of pre-existing pleomorphic adenoma is seen. And microscopically, they resemble ductal adenocarcinoma of breast, both intraductal and infiltrative, and frequently vascular and neural invasion is seen. And large duct with cribriform configurations and comedonal necrosis are made out, and the individual tumor cells are highly pleomorphic, large, hyperchromatic nuclei with prominent nucleoli. And immunohistochemically, the tumor cells are positive for wide range of cytokeratin, CEA and EMA, and they are strongly positive for androgen receptor, negative with estrogen and progesterone receptor. And most of the tumor cells will show overexpression of HER2/neu protein also. And this is the macroscopy and microscopic picture of salivary duct carcinoma. On the left is the gross feature, which is showing an irregular infiltrative grey white mass. On the right, the tumor shows evidence of perineural invasion, and the tumor cells are arranged in the form of cribriform, exactly mimicking the intraductal and invasive ductal carcinoma of breast. Next, coming on to carcinoma X pleomorphic adenoma. This is a carcinoma arising in association with pleomorphic adenoma, and it accounts for 4% of all salivary gland neoplasms or tumors and 12% of salivary malignancies. And parotid is affected in 67% of cases, submandibular in 15%, and minor salivary gland in 18%. And the morbidity and mortality depends on tumor size, type, and extent of invasion, and they have equal gender distribution, and it is usually seen in 6th to 7th decade. Clinically, typical history of long-standing mass with recent rapid enlargement is seen, and previous surgery for pleomorphic adenoma is often reported. And non-invasive carcinoma will have same prognosis as that of pleomorphic adenoma. 25 to 50% of this kind of tumor have local recurrence, usually within 5 years. Grossly, the tumor will range from small to massive, reaching up to 25 centimeters. An area of circumscribed pleomorphic adenoma associated with infiltrative component is seen. And microscopically, proportion of pre-existing pleomorphic adenoma and carcinoma X pleomorphic adenoma is variable, and original pleomorphic adenoma may scar or be overgrown by malignant component. Malignant element frequently will be a poorly differentiated carcinoma or salivary duct carcinoma. And this is the microscopic picture where the arrow shows a cartilaginous component of pre-existing pleomorphic adenoma. On the right, there are all many variably dilated ductal structures filled with secretions lined by highly pleomorphic cells. And finally, moving on to metastatic tumors. As we know, metastasis is nothing but a spread of tumor from its original site to distant site. So metastatic tumor in salivary gland means these are all not original to salivary gland. These are the tumors which have got spread from other organs. So metastasis can occur in salivary gland also, and metastasis to salivary gland occurs usually from malignant tumors of skin, malignant melanoma, and nasopharyngeal carcinomas, tumors of lungs, kidneys, breast, colon, and uterus. So, in order to differentiate the primary tumors and metastatic tumors, we will need the help of immunohistochemistry. So, now we have discussed about 5 important malignant tumors and few points on metastatic tumors and the organs that are all involved in giving metastasis to salivary gland. So, this ends part 2 of today's discussion. Thank you.